You're lying in your Georgian bed, surrounded by heavy curtains that block out not just light, but something far more sinister. Outside your chamber door, darkness pools like liquid. Inside, you're about to perform a ritual that would seem utterly mad to anyone living in the modern world. You'll tie bread soaked in vinegar to the soles of your feet, attach small bags of aniseed to your nostrils, and if things get really desperate, you might just cut a pigeon in half and press each bloody piece against the sides of your head. Welcome to bedtime in Georgian England, where sleep wasn't just rest. It was survival, spiritual warfare, and a nightly dance with forces you couldn't see, but absolutely believed were real. Before we descend into the strange world of Georgian slumber, take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you enjoy these journeys into the past. And maybe, just maybe, leave a comment about the strangest thing you've ever done to try to get some sleep. Now, dim your lights, settle into your bed, and let's travel back to a time when nightfall meant something very different than it does today. The sun is setting over England, somewhere between 1714 and 1830, and you can feel the entire household shift. There's a heaviness to it, an urgency that modern people wouldn't quite understand. Your servants move faster now, completing tasks, securing windows, checking locks. The candle maker delivered fresh candles this morning, but they cost more than most people earn in a week, so you'll use them sparingly, carefully, knowing that once darkness falls completely, you'll be living in a world of shadows and whispers until morning breaks. The light drains from the sky like water from a basin, and with it goes something else. Safety maybe, or just the illusion of control. Georgians didn't have streetlights, didn't have electric switches, didn't have the luxury of keeping darkness at bay with the flick of a finger. When night came, it came completely, pressing against windows, seeping under doors, filling every corner with its presence. You're standing at your window now, watching the last golden rays paint the rooftops. Somewhere down the street, another house is lighting its candles. You can see them flickering on, tiny pinpricks of light that seem fragile, temporary, like they might go out at any moment. And they might. Fire is both your salvation and your terror. It keeps the darkness at bay, but it also burns houses down, kills families in their sleep, turns bedchambers into furnaces. Your cook has already banked the kitchen fire, covering the coals so they'll last until morning without spreading. Every candle in your house has been placed away from curtains, away from papers, away from anything that might catch. You've heard the stories. Everyone has. The family 2 streets over, gone in the night. The merchant's house on the corner. Nothing but blackened timbers by dawn. If you're wealthy, you might have 20, 30, even 50 candles to light your evening. You'll move from room to room in a bubble of warm golden light, reading, writing letters, entertaining guests. But if you're like most people, you have 2 candles, maybe 3. One for the main room, one for the bedchamber, and maybe a stub to light your way up the stairs. You learn to do everything in that small circle of light, mending, eating your final meal of the day, preparing for the long night ahead. The sounds change when darkness falls. During the day, the city, the town, the village, they all hum with life. Horses on cobblestones, vendors calling out, children playing, the constant percussion of daily existence. But night muffles all that. What you hear instead is closer, more intimate, more unsettling. Footsteps in the street that might be a neighbor or might be something else. Dogs barking in the distance, their voices carrying through the dark. The crack and pop of your own fire, your own breathing. Georgians went to bed early because they had no choice. When you can't see, You can't work. When you can't work, you might as well sleep. Or try to. The problem is, early to bed doesn't mean easy to sleep. Your mind is still alert, your body still awake, but there's nothing to do except lie there in the darkness and wait. Wait for sleep to come. Wait for morning to arrive. Wait for the long night to pass without incident. And that waiting, that's when the fear creeps in. Your bedchamber isn't just a room. It's a statement, a fortress, a shrine, and possibly a trap, depending on how the night goes. If you're wealthy enough, your bed dominates the space like a wooden cathedral. 4 posts rise toward the ceiling, each one carved, polished, worth more than most people's houses. Heavy curtains hang from a canopy above, made of thick fabric, lined and relined, because these curtains aren't just decoration, they're survival. The curtains trap heat around your body on winter nights when frost forms on the inside of your windows. They create a smaller space within the larger room, a cocoon where you can pretend the darkness isn't pressing in from all sides. They muffle sound, so if something goes bump in the night, maybe you won't hear it. Maybe you can convince yourself it's nothing. The frame of your bed sits high off the ground, and there's a reason for that. You need space underneath for the chamber pot, for storage, and most importantly, for airflow. Bad air, miasma, the invisible poison that Georgians believe causes disease, it sinks, they think. It pools on the floor like water. So you sleep up high, above the danger zone, breathing what you hope is cleaner air. Your mattress is a complex affair. If you're wealthy, it's layer upon layer of different materials. First, a base of rope or leather straps, stretched tight across the bed frame. That's where the phrase comes from, you realize. Sleep tight. Literally tight, because loose bed ropes make for a saggy, uncomfortable night. Then straw or horsehair, tamped, down, shaped, adjusted. Then wool batting. Then, if you're very lucky, feathers. Down, ideally. The soft underfeathers of geese, hundreds of them, thousands of them, all packed into a huge fabric case that puffs up like a cloud. But here's what the period dramas don't show you. That beautiful bed is also home to an entire ecosystem. Fleas live in the straw. Bed bugs hide in the wooden frame, in the rope gaps, in the mattress seams. You've tried everything. Herbs scattered between the layers, vinegar solutions, heat treatments. Nothing works completely. You've made your peace with the fact that you'll wake up with bites, that some nights you'll itch so badly you'll barely sleep at all. Your bed is positioned carefully, deliberately, according to rules that modern people have forgotten. It's not pushed against the wall because walls are cold, and cold air carries sickness. It's not under a window because drafts are dangerous, potentially deadly. It's not directly in line with the door because that invites. Well, you're not exactly sure what it invites, but everyone agrees it's bad. The placement is about more than just comfort. It's about humoral balance, about the flow of air and spirit through the room, about protecting yourself from invisible dangers. Physicians have written entire treatises on bed placement. Too close to the fire, you'll overheat, throwing your humours into chaos. Too far away, you'll freeze. The perfect distance is a matter of careful calculation, adjusted for room size, season, the state of your health. Around your bed, you've arranged your nighttime necessities. A small table holds your candle, your tinderbox, a glass of water that you'll be slightly afraid to drink, because everyone knows stagnant water breeds disease. There's a Bible, because you'll need it for your evening prayers. Maybe a book of devotions, or if you're lucky and can afford it, something more entertaining. But reading by candlelight is hard on the eyes, and candles are expensive, so mostly That book sits there as a comfort, a possibility. The chamber pot sits in its little cabinet, or under the bed if you're less wealthy, or in the corner if you're truly struggling. There's no plumbing, no bathroom down the hall. When nature calls in the night, this is your only option. And let me tell you, getting out of a warm bed into a freezing room to crouch over a chamber pot in the dark is nobody's idea of comfort. Your washing basin sits on its stand, but the water in it will be ice cold by morning. Some mornings, it'll actually be ice. If you're wealthy enough to have a separate dressing room, your clothes are hung or folded there. If not, they're draped over a chair, carefully arranged so they'll be easy to find and put on when you wake in the pitch dark of early morning. This room, this bedchamber, it represents everything Georgians are trying to create. Safety, privacy, civilization, control. But at night, when the candles burn low and the shadows grow long, you're not entirely sure you've succeeded. Night isn't just dark in Georgian England. It's dangerous, and Georgians know it in their bones. You lock your doors not because it's a good habit, but because someone might actually break in. There's no police force, not really. A few night watchmen patrol the main streets, calling out the hours, carrying their lanterns, but they can't be everywhere. And criminals know it. The bloody code, they call it. Between 1714 and 1830, the number of crimes punishable by death increased from about 50 to over 200. Stealing from a dwelling house, death. Breaking and entering, death. Even if you don't steal anything, even if you just break the threshold and step inside someone's home, that's enough. You hang for it. The severity of the law tells you everything you need to know about how much Georgians fear this particular crime. A man's home is his castle, they say, and they mean it literally. Your home is your only true sanctuary, the one place where you should be able to feel safe. When someone violates that, they're not just stealing things, they're stealing peace, security, the very foundation of civil society. So you check your locks twice, 3 times. You make sure the ground floor windows are shuttered and barred. If you're a man, you might keep a pistol by your bed, primed and ready. If you're a woman, maybe a knife. You've heard the stories, the newspaper accounts that journalists love to print because they sell papers. The family murdered in their beds. The merchant who woke to find a stranger standing over him. The house stripped bare while everyone slept. But it's not just human dangers that worry you. There's something else in the darkness. Something that doesn't have a body, doesn't leave footprints, but is just as real to Georgian minds as any flesh and blood thief. Evil. Actual, literal evil. Spirits, demons, malevolent forces that become active when the sun goes down. You've been raised on these beliefs, fed them with your mother's milk, heard them repeated by everyone from physicians to priests. Night is when the veil between worlds grows thin. Night is when devils walk. Night is when witches fly and demons prowl and death itself comes hunting. Sleep, the physicians tell you, is a state of extreme vulnerability. Your soul loosens from your body. Your defenses drop. You're unaware, unprotected, unable to pray or resist. Anything could happen while you sleep. You could be possessed, cursed, stolen away. Your soul could wander off and get lost. You've heard about sleep paralysis, though that's not what you call it. You call it the nightmare, the night hag, the old hag. It's when you wake up but can't move, can't breathe, and there's a presence in the room. A weight on your chest. Something sitting on you, pressing you down, crushing the air from your lungs. Everyone knows someone who's experienced it. Some people experience it regularly. The physicians say it's caused by indigestion, by lying on your back, by eating heavy foods before bed. But you know better. You know it's something darker, something that visits in the night and feeds on your fear. Witches are another concern. The great witch hunts are mostly over by the Georgian period, but the belief hasn't died. It's just gone underground, gotten quieter. People still whisper about the old woman down the lane, the one whose cow never dies, whose crops never fail, who was seen at midnight walking under the full moon. If you cross her, will she curse your sleep? Will you wake with strange marks on your body, or not wake at all? So you protect yourself. You pray. You keep religious texts by your bedside. Some people scratch protective symbols into the walls, hidden where others won't see. Ancient marks, older than Christianity, passed down through generations. Crosses, circles, interlocking lines. Anything that might ward off evil. You position your bed according to tradition. You avoid certain behaviors that might invite supernatural attention. You don't look in mirrors after dark, because mirrors are portals, gateways. Who knows what might look back? You don't whistle at night, because that calls spirits. You don't open windows when there's a full moon, because moonlight causes madness. It's in the word itself. Lunatic. Moonstruck. The moon has power over the mind, over the body, over the humours. Too much exposure and you'll go insane, lose yourself, become something other than human. And then there's death. The fear that you'll go to sleep and simply not wake up. It happens, of course. People die in their sleep all the time. Apoplexy, they call it. Seizure of the heart. Stopped breath. One moment you're sleeping peacefully, the next you're gone, having slipped from one darkness into another without ever knowing the difference. This fear is so pervasive that many Georgians do something that seems morbid to modern minds. They prepare for death before sleep. They make their peace with God. They review their day, asking forgiveness for sins. They arrange their affairs mentally, ensuring that if they don't wake, at least they'll die in a state of grace. Some keep updated wills by their bedside. Queen Anne herself commissioned an elaborate bed specifically to die in, because death was something you planned for, prepared for, treated with the same care and attention as any other important life event. So as you prepare for sleep, you're not just getting ready for rest. You're preparing to survive the night, to protect yourself from dangers both physical and spiritual, to make it through to morning intact and alive. Getting ready for bed in Georgian England isn't a 5-minute routine. It's a production, an elaborate series of steps that must be followed in the correct order, because each step serves a purpose, protects you somehow, prepares you for the vulnerable state of sleep. If you're a wealthy woman, your maid helps you undress. She unfastens the dozens of tiny hooks on your gown, unlaces your stays, removes the layers of petticoats that have protected your modesty all day. Each piece is carefully hung or folded, ready for tomorrow. You're left standing in your shift, a long linen undergarment that you've worn against your skin all day. It needs changing, but washing clothes is difficult and time-consuming, so you'll wear it another day, maybe 2, maybe a week. You try not to think about the sweat, the dirt, the general griminess that comes from wearing the same undergarments day after day. At least in winter, you sweat less. Your night clothes come next. For women, it's a clean shift, hopefully, or at least a cleaner one, made of linen or cotton, loose and flowing, modest down to your ankles and up to your wrists. Nothing revealing, nothing that might invite improper thoughts, even though you'll be alone or only with your husband. For men, it's a nightshirt, similar in style. Long, plain, practical. And then, absolutely crucial, the nightcap. Both men and women wear them, and they're not optional. They're essential protection against the cold, against drafts, against bad air, against evil humours that might enter through the top of your head while you sleep. Your hair is down now, finally released from pins and styles. If you're a woman, you brush it. 100 strokes, they say, though you don't always make it that far. Your arm gets tired. The brushing distributes the natural oils, keeps your hair healthy, and supposedly promotes good sleep. Your scalp tingles. Your hair crackles with static in the dry winter air. If you're wealthy and have servants, they've already been through the room, making sure everything is ready. The fire is built up but not too high. The bed curtains are arranged. The chamber pot is empty and clean. They've placed a warming pan between the sheets, a long-handled metal dish filled with hot coals that's been run back and forth across the mattress, heating the cold fabric. But the servants are dismissed now. Even the wealthy deserve privacy for sleep. They retreat to their own corners, their own beds, or more likely, their pallets on the floor, their narrow cots in the attic, their spots at the foot of their employers' beds. Sleep arrangements depend on status, always. You check under the bed. This isn't paranoia. This is common sense. Someone could be hiding there. A thief, a vagrant, even just a servant who fell asleep in the wrong place. You've heard stories. Everyone has. The murderer who hid under the bed all evening, waiting for the household to sleep. The thief who slipped in during dinner and concealed himself in the bedchamber, biding his time. So you look. You make sure. The space under your bed is empty except for the usual things. Dust, the chamber pot, maybe a trunk. You check the wardrobe if you have one. Check behind the curtains. It feels silly, dramatic, but it also feels necessary. Washing before bed is minimal. You pour water from the pitcher into the basin and splash your face and hands. The water is cold, shockingly cold, and it wakes you up when you want to be winding down. You dry off quickly. Some people wash more thoroughly. Some people wash hardly at all. It depends on your beliefs about water and health, about the dangers of cold and damp, about whether washing is healthy, or if it opens your pores to disease. Your teeth get a quick clean, if you have the energy and the inclination. Maybe a cloth rubbed over them, maybe just a rinse of water. Dental hygiene isn't quite what it will become, and many people your age are already losing teeth, already dealing with abscesses and pain. Now comes the religious portion of the evening, and this isn't optional. Everyone prays before sleep, from the highest lord to the lowest servant. The form varies, but the practice doesn't. If you're the head of a household, you gather everyone for evening prayers. Your family, your servants, anyone who lives under your roof. You read from the Bible, from a prayer book, from whatever devotional text your faith requires. You ask God's protection through the night. You thank Him for the day's blessings. You seek forgiveness for the day's sins. The King James Bible has made private devotion not just acceptable, but expected. You're supposed to have a closet, a small private room where you can pray alone twice daily. If you're wealthy, you have one. If you're not, you make do with a corner, a space, somewhere you can kneel and feel like you're communing directly with God. After family prayers, you have your own private conversation with the divine. You kneel beside your bed, hands clasped, head bowed. You review your day. What did you do well? What did you do poorly? Who did you hurt? Who hurt you? Have you forgiven them? Are you in a state of grace? Because here's the thing that haunts Georgian bedtimes. You might not wake up. This could be your last prayer, your last chance to make peace with your Maker. So you don't rush it. You think about your life, your choices, your legacy. You contemplate mortality not in some abstract philosophical way, but in a real, immediate way. Death is close in Georgian England. It's not hidden in hospitals or nursing homes. It happens here, in homes, in bedchambers, in beds just like yours. You think about the people you love, your children, if you have them. Are they safe? Are they sleeping peacefully in their own beds, or in their shared beds, or wherever they've been tucked away for the night? Your spouse, if you're married, probably praying beside you or already in bed. Your parents, your siblings, your friends. Will you see them tomorrow? You pray that you will. You pray for safe passage through the night. You pray that dawn will come and find you alive. Well, intact. Some people keep particular saints' prayers for nighttime. Saint Michael, protector against evil. The Virgin Mary, gentle intercessor. Guardian angels, those mysterious beings assigned to watch over individuals, keeping them safe from spiritual danger. You pray to your guardian angel specifically, asking them to be extra vigilant while you sleep, while you're vulnerable, while you can't protect yourself. And then, finally, you recite the most important prayer of all. The Lord's Prayer, the one Jesus taught, the one that covers all bases. You say it slowly, carefully, meaning every word. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses. Deliver us from evil. Deliver us from evil. That's the one that really matters tonight. You cross yourself, rise from your knees, and approach the bed. Your candle gutters in its holder. You'll blow it out in a moment, plunging the room into darkness. But not quite yet. First, you need to get into bed. Climb up, if it's a high one. Slip between the sheets that are finally starting to cool from the warming pan. Arrange the pillows, the bolsters. Pull the blankets up to your chin. So many blankets. Wool mostly. Heavy, scratchy, warm. You'll need them all before morning. Now you reach for the bed curtains and draw them closed around you. This is your world now. This fabric cave. This warm, dark space. You can barely see your hand in front of your face. The curtains block out what little light the moon might provide. You're enclosed, cocooned, sealed away. It should feel safe. It does feel safe. But it also feels terrifyingly vulnerable, because if something is in the room with you, you won't see it until it's too late. You blow out the candle. The last light dies, and you wait for sleep to come. But it won't. Not yet. Not for hours. Because Georgians have a secret about sleep that modern people have forgotten. A pattern so natural, so deeply embedded in human biology, that its loss is still affecting us today, still disrupting our rest, still making us feel like we're doing sleep wrong. You don't sleep through the night. Nobody does. Not in Georgian England. Not anywhere before artificial light changed everything. Here's how it actually works. You go to bed around 9 or 10, maybe earlier in winter, maybe a bit later in summer. You lie there for a while, waiting, listening to the sounds of the household settling, the fires dying down, the last voices fading. Then sleep takes you, your first sleep. Deep, dreamless, restorative. 4 hours, maybe 4.5. Your body knows exactly how long this should last. It's been doing this for millennia. Then, around midnight or 1 in the morning, you wake up. Not because something's wrong, not because you're disturbed, just because you're supposed to wake up. This is natural, this is normal. This is how human beings are designed to sleep. Georgians have a name for this period. They call it the watch, or the watching, or sometimes just the wake. It lasts 1 to 3 hours, and during that time, you're not sleeping. You're up, active, doing things. This isn't insomnia. This isn't a sleep problem. This is just how sleep works when you're not fighting against it with alarm clocks and schedules and artificial light. Historical records are full of references to this pattern. Diaries mention first sleep and second sleep as casually as we might mention breakfast and lunch. Medical texts discuss what to do during the watching. Legal documents record crimes happening at 1 or 2 in the morning, times when modern people assume everyone would be sleeping, but when Georgian streets actually had people walking around. Prayer books include specific prayers for the middle of the night. Books have chapters designed to be read during the watch. This isn't some obscure practice. This is how everyone sleeps. You, your neighbours, the king himself. All of you wake in the middle of the night, spend time awake, then return to sleep. So what do you do during the watch? Well, that depends on who you are and what you need. Some people use this time for intimate relations with their spouses. The marriage bed serves many purposes. And this quiet, private time in the middle of the night, when you're both awake, both relaxed from first sleep, it's ideal. You're not exhausted from the day. You're not rushing to complete tasks. You're just there together in the dark. Some people eat or drink, just a little something, a piece of bread, some water or weak ale, or milk if you have it, enough to quiet your stomach, to tide you over until morning breakfast. Some people tend to practical matters. The fire needs stoking. You slip out of bed, feel your way across the cold floor, add wood or coal, poke the embers back to life. Children might need checking on. The household might need securing. You hear a noise, investigate, find it's nothing, return to bed. Some people read, if they have the money for candles and books. Not anything too exciting. Usually devotional texts, prayer books, meditations. Something that will feed your soul without waking you up too much. Some people write, letters mostly, diary entries, dream journals, because dreams from first sleep are especially vivid, especially meaningful, and you want to record them before they fade. You keep pen and paper by your bed for exactly this purpose. Some people pray. This is a particularly holy time, they believe, when the world is quiet, when distractions are minimal, when you're in that liminal space between sleeping and waking. Your prayers during the watch are supposed to be especially powerful, especially heard. Some people just lie there and think. They review their day. They plan tomorrow. They work through problems, make decisions, contemplate life's big questions. The watch is thinking time, processing time. Time when your mind can wander without the constant demands of daily life pulling at it. And some people visit their neighbours. Yes, really. During the watch, it's perfectly normal to get dressed, leave your house, and walk down the street to visit someone else who you know will also be awake. You sit in their kitchen or their parlour, talk quietly, share a drink, then return home for second sleep. Communities accommodate this pattern. No one thinks it's strange to see someone walking around at 1 in the morning. That's just how life works. After 1 to 3 hours of being awake, you feel sleep returning. Your eyelids grow heavy. Your thoughts drift. You yawn. It's time for second sleep. You settle back into bed, arrange yourself, close your eyes, and slip under again. This sleep is different from first sleep. It's lighter, dreamier, less profound. You're more likely to dream during second sleep, and those dreams are intense, vivid, often bizarre. You might wake briefly from second sleep, shift position, then fall back under. This is normal too. Sleep isn't supposed to be one unconscious block. It's supposed to be flexible, responsive, natural. Second sleep lasts until dawn, roughly. 3 or 4 hours, depending on when you started and when the sun rises. Some people wake naturally as light begins to filter through the shutters. Others sleep until the household starts stirring, until servants begin moving around, until the day's work demands attention. The beauty of this pattern is how it works with your body instead of against it. You're not fighting to stay asleep for 8 hours straight. You're not lying awake at 2 in the morning wondering what's wrong with you. You're just following the rhythm that humans have followed for thousands of years. Modern sleep research has rediscovered this pattern. Scientists put people in environments without artificial light, without clocks, without schedules. After a few weeks, what happens? They naturally fall into biphasic sleep. First sleep, wake period, second sleep. It's built into us. A Virginia Tech historian named Roger E. Kirch spent decades researching historical sleep patterns. He found over 2,000 references to segmented sleep in diaries, medical texts, literature, prayer books, even legal depositions. People in England, France, Italy, Latin America, Africa, the Middle East, all of them sleeping in 2 parts. This pattern only disappeared in the last century or 2, as artificial light made it possible to stay up later, as industrial work schedules demanded uninterrupted sleep, as electricity turned night into day. We lost something when we lost biphasic sleep. We lost those quiet hours of reflection. We lost the natural rhythm our bodies want to follow, and we gained anxiety about sleep, worry about waking in the night, the belief that interrupted sleep means something's wrong. But sitting here in your Georgian bed, waiting for first sleep to release you, you know better. There's nothing wrong. This is how it's supposed to be. You can't sleep though. Not yet. Not until you've tried absolutely everything to invite slumber, to court it, to make your body and mind receptive to rest. And if natural methods don't work, well, Georgians have remedies. So many remedies. Some gentle, some bizarre, some actively dangerous. Let's start with the mild ones, the herbal preparations that physicians recommend and that seem mostly harmless. Wild lettuce is popular, especially mixed with woman's milk. That's what they call it. Woman's milk. Human breast milk, acquired from wet nurses or nursing mothers, believed to have calming properties. You mix dried wild lettuce with this milk, drink it before bed, and supposedly drift off peacefully. It probably works, actually. Wild lettuce contains mild sedative compounds. The breast milk is just comfort, nostalgia, a return to infantile safety. Chamomile is another favorite. You drink it as tea, or you soak cloths in chamomile water and lay them across your forehead, your chest, your wrists. The scent is soothing. The warmth is pleasant. Does it actually help you sleep? Maybe. Maybe it's just the ritual of it, the belief that you're doing something, taking control. Lavender gets used extensively. Fresh lavender under your pillow. Dried lavender sewn into sachets placed around the bed. Lavender oil rubbed on your temples. The smell is everywhere, strong and herbal and supposedly calming. Rosewater serves similar purposes. You sprinkle it on your sheets. You add it to your washing water. You dab it behind your ears. Anything to surround yourself with pleasant scents that might lure you into sleep. Physicians believe strongly in the connection between smell and sleep, between what you breathe and how you rest. Then there are the slightly stranger remedies, the ones that make you wonder who thought of these and why. Aniseed, for example. You take small bags of aniseed, tie them to your nostrils, so you're breathing in the licorice scent all night. The theory is that the warming, spicy smell will balance your humors, calm your mind, prevent nightmares. Does breathing through cloth bags all night sound comfortable? No. Do people do it anyway? Absolutely. Bread soaked in vinegar, applied to the soles of your feet. The vinegar is cooling, supposedly. It draws heat and agitation down from your head, where it causes sleeplessness, down through your body and out through your feet. You wrap vinegar-soaked bread around your feet, then wrap that in dry cloth to keep it in place. You go to bed smelling like a salad. Your feet are cold and damp. You sleep beautifully. Or so the remedy promises. Heated stones or bricks, wrapped in cloth and placed at the foot of the bed. This one actually makes sense. Warmth helps you sleep. Your feet being warm helps your whole body relax. So you heat bricks in the fire, wrap them carefully so you don't burn yourself, and tuck them under the covers. They'll stay warm for hours, radiating heat, making your bed a cozy nest. Specific woods burned in your bedchamber, chosen for their sleep-inducing smoke. Different physicians recommend different woods. Some say ash, some say willow. Some say it has to be applewood, and it has to be burned in a specific brass vessel, and you have to say a particular prayer while it burns. The complexity of some remedies suggests that maybe the sleep isn't coming from the remedy itself, but from the exhaustion of preparing it. Sleeping position matters enormously, according to Georgian medical theory. You're supposed to sleep on your right side first during first sleep. This allows your food to settle properly in the stomach. The shape of the stomach, they believe, means food needs to reach the pit, the deepest part, where digestion happens. Lying on your right side helps this process. After the watch, during second sleep, you switch to your left side. This protects your heart, keeps it from being compressed, allows blood to flow properly. Lying on your back is dangerous. It invites nightmares. It allows bad humors to pool in your lungs. It makes you vulnerable to the night hag, that crushing weight that pins you down and steals your breath. Some people believe you'll die if you sleep on your back for too long. Your soul will leave your body and forget to come back. Stomach sleeping is controversial. Some say it's fine. Some say it's improper, immodest, too vulnerable. Women especially shouldn't sleep on their stomachs, they say, though they're not entirely clear about why. Something about the womb, probably. Georgian medicine is obsessed with wombs. Now we get into the more potent remedies, the ones that come from plants but pack a serious punch. Opium poppies grow in English gardens. The dried sap from their seed pods contains powerful sedative compounds. English poppies are relatively mild. Foreign opium, imported from the East, is much stronger. Both get used in sleep medicine, but carefully. Supposedly carefully. Opium is complicated. Small doses ease pain, calm anxiety, promote sleep. Larger doses cause visions, euphoria, terrifying dreams. Even larger doses stop your breathing, kill you. So physicians have elaborate instructions about dosing, about preparation, about who should and shouldn't use opium. But people are desperate for sleep. They push the limits. They take more than recommended. They develop dependencies. Laudanum hasn't quite become the household staple it will be in Victorian times, but it's starting to appear. This early laudanum isn't the alcohol opium tincture that will later dominate. It's more varied, more experimental. Different recipes, different strengths, some safer than others. A letter from 1588 describes laudanum in solid form, measured in grains, used to ensure deep sleep before surgery. The line between sleep aid and anesthetic is blurry. If you can knock someone out deeply enough to cut into their body, surely that same preparation will help with insomnia. The problem is dosing. Too little, it doesn't work. Too much, you don't wake up. There's a documented case of a physician who died from self-administering a sleeping medicine. He miscalculated, took too much, slipped into a sleep so deep it became death. His diary entry from the night before is routine, normal. By morning, he was gone. Henbane is another dangerous option. It's a powerful sedative, but it's also a poison. The dose that puts you to sleep is uncomfortably close to the dose that kills you. Physicians warn about this. They say to use henbane only in extreme cases, only in tiny amounts, only under supervision. People use it anyway. Mandrake root has a reputation. It's humanoid-shaped, supposedly screaming when pulled from the ground, associated with witchcraft and dark magic. It's also an effective sedative. Mandrake preparations will absolutely put you to sleep. They'll also cause hallucinations, confusion, and possibly death. But if you're desperate enough, if you've been lying awake night after night, mind racing, body exhausted, you might be willing to risk it. Alcohol is the most common sleep aid of all. Beer, ale, wine, spirits. If you can afford it, you drink before bed. It relaxes you, dulls your thoughts, makes sleep come easier. The problem is the quality of sleep you get. You pass out rather than fall asleep naturally. You wake feeling rough, groggy, worse than before. But that doesn't stop people. Gin especially becomes associated with poor people trying to escape their misery. Gin is cheap. Gin is strong. Gin makes you forget for a while how hard life is. And if you drink enough of it, you sleep, sort of. Later in the Georgian period, new chemical preparations start appearing. Chloral hydrate, for example. It's effective. It works quickly. It also becomes wildly addictive. People start taking it every night. They can't sleep without it. They increase their dose. They develop tolerances. Some, like the artist Dante Gabriel Rossetti, become so dependent on chloral that their entire lives revolve around acquiring and using it. He calls it a commercial necessity. Without chloral, no sleep. Without sleep, no ability to work. So he keeps taking it, keeps increasing the dose, keeps chasing sleep until it nearly destroys him. Cannabis gets prescribed by physicians, believe it or not. Queen Victoria herself reportedly uses it for menstrual cramps and sleep difficulties. Her physician, Dr. Reynolds, writes in The Lancet that cannabis is one of the most valuable medicines for treating insomnia. It's legal, available, and considered safer than opium or alcohol. The doses are small, the effects mild, and for some people, it genuinely helps. But here's the thing about all these remedies. They're treating symptoms, not causes. You can't sleep because you're anxious, stressed, uncomfortable, living in a world full of genuine dangers and imagined terrors. Taking substances that knock you unconscious doesn't solve any of that. It just postpones the reckoning. And some nights, no remedy works. No herb, no prayer, no carefully followed routine. You just lie there, awake, staring into darkness, waiting for dawn and wondering if you'll survive another day without proper rest. The desperation of Georgian insomniacs is palpable in the historical record. Diary entries describing weeks without decent sleep. Letters begging physicians for stronger remedies. Medical texts discussing the physical and mental deterioration caused by prolonged sleeplessness. They know insomnia is serious. They know it causes illness, madness, even death. They just don't know how to fix it. So they keep trying remedies, keep mixing potions, keep tying bags to their noses and bread to their feet, keep taking substances that might kill them, because the alternative, lying awake night after night, feels worse. You need to talk about the pigeon thing, because yes, that was real. If you had a terrible headache that was preventing sleep, one recommended remedy was to cut a pigeon in half, a live pigeon, and apply each half to the sides of your head. The warmth, the blood, something about the vital essence of the bird. It was supposed to draw out pain and promote rest. Did anyone actually do this? Historical medical texts suggest yes. Was it effective? Well, If you could fall asleep after cutting a pigeon in half and strapping it to your head, you were probably exhausted enough to sleep regardless. But people were desperate, and desperation makes you try things that seem insane in retrospect. The variety of sleep remedies tells you something important about Georgian life. Sleep was a constant problem, a serious problem, a problem worth spending money on, worth taking risks for, worth dedicating enormous amounts of time and energy to solving. Insomnia wasn't a minor inconvenience. It was a threat to health, sanity, and life itself. Your bed isn't just your bed. It's a statement about who you are, where you fit in society's elaborate hierarchy, and how you sleep, where you sleep, who you sleep with. All of that reveals your place in the Georgian world. If you're aristocracy, your bedchamber is massive. Multiple rooms, actually. An outer chamber, where you receive important visitors, conduct business, hold morning levees where people come to see you while you're still in your night clothes. Then an inner chamber, more private, where the actual sleeping happens. Then a dressing room. Then a closet for prayer and private contemplation. Your bed is a work of art. Carved posts, gilded details, heavy brocade curtains that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. The mattress is layers of the finest materials. The sheets are linen, changed regularly by servants. The blankets are wool and silk. The pillows are down, soft as clouds. You have a separate bed for summer and winter, because of course you do. You might even have a bed specifically for dying in, like Queen Anne did. Death is an important moment. You want to look good for it. You have servants whose entire job is managing your bedchamber, making the bed, warming it, checking that everything is perfect. One servant might sleep in an anteroom, or at the foot of your bed, available if you need anything in the night. Because you never have to get up to tend the fire, fetch water, find a handkerchief. That's what servants are for. If you're middle class, you're trying desperately to imitate the aristocracy within your more limited means. You have a bedchamber probably, maybe even a separate dressing room if you're successful. Your bed has curtains, even if they're not silk. Your mattress is good quality, even if it's not the absolute finest. You might have one servant, maybe two if you're doing well. They don't sleep in your room, but they're nearby, available. You follow all the same rituals, the same protocols, because you want people to know that you're genteel, educated, refined, that you understand how civilized people behave. Your bed is an investment. It's in your will. It'll pass to your children. It represents your success, your ability to provide comfort and security for your family. If you're working class, your sleeping situation is different. You might have a bed, or you might have a pallet on the floor, or a straw mattress shared with multiple people. Your bedchamber isn't a separate room. It's a corner of the main room, or a loft, or a curtained area that provides minimal privacy. Your bed curtains might be old blankets hung from hooks, creating a little nest that's warmer than sleeping exposed but nowhere near the grand affair of the wealthy. You don't have separate night clothes probably. You sleep in your shift, your undershirt, whatever you wore during the day. Maybe you remove your outer layers, but that's it. Washing before bed is a splash of cold water if you're lucky. No warming pans, no servants. You heat bricks in the fire yourself if you have access to a fire. You share your sleeping space with children, sometimes with extended family, sometimes with lodgers who pay a few pennies for the privilege of a spot on your floor. If you're a servant in someone else's house, you sleep wherever there's space. In the attic, perhaps. In a tiny room with a sloping ceiling and a window that doesn't close properly. Or in the kitchen, on a pallet by the dying fire. Or in a closet, literally a closet, with barely enough room to lie down. or at the foot of your master's bed, on a trundle that slides out at night. You're on call. If they need something in the night, you wake up, you fetch it. That's your job. Your sleep is interrupted constantly, fractured, never fully restful. But you're grateful for the position, because at least you have a place to sleep. Plenty of people don't. Your bedding is minimal. A thin mattress, maybe stuffed with straw. A single blanket. No curtains, no privacy, no warmth to speak of. On winter nights, you pile every piece of clothing you own on top of yourself and still wake up shivering. Children's sleeping arrangements vary by class too. Wealthy children have their own rooms, their own beds, though usually simpler than their parents. They might have a nurse sleeping nearby, someone to comfort them if they wake frightened in the night. Middle-class children share rooms, share beds. 2 or 3 to a bed is common. They keep each other warm, though they also kick each other, steal blankets, wake each other up. Poor children sleep wherever, on floors, in corners, crowded together with siblings and sometimes other families' children. Multiple families might share a single room, with everyone sleeping in their respective spaces, privacy non-existent. Infants sleep in cradles if there are cradles, or in bed with their mothers, or in baskets, or in drawers pulled out from furniture lined with cloth, serving as makeshift cribs. This sharing of sleeping spaces isn't just about economics. It's about warmth, security, and the simple fact that privacy is a luxury most people can't afford. You sleep with others because it's practical, because bodies generate heat, because there's safety in numbers, because being alone at night is frightening, and having someone breathing nearby reminds you that you're not completely vulnerable. But it also means you never fully rest. Someone's always snoring, moving, getting up to use the chamber pot, letting in cold air when they shift the blankets. The wealthy have the luxury of solitude. Everyone else makes do with company. Some married couples sleep in the same bed. Some have separate beds in the same room. Some have entirely separate bedchambers. This varies by wealth, personal preference, and the state of the marriage. Separate beds or rooms aren't necessarily a sign of marital problems. They're often practical. Women need rest during pregnancy. Men snore. People have different temperature preferences. Someone's ill and the other needs sleep. But there's also a moral dimension. Too much intimacy, even between married couples, is considered potentially unwholesome. Separate beds maintain a certain propriety, a certain distance. Of course, separate sleeping arrangements also make infidelity easier, though no one discusses that openly. The bed you sleep in, the room you sleep in, the people you sleep with or near, all of it marks your status. And that status is visible, obvious, impossible to hide. The wealthy sleep well, or at least comfortably. The poor sleep however they can, wherever they can, grateful for whatever rest they manage to steal between the demands of survival. And everyone in between is trying to climb the ladder to improve their sleeping situation just a little bit, because better sleep means better status, means better life. Your bed isn't just a place to rest. It's a symbol of who you are and where you belong in the great hierarchy of Georgian England. Night has fully settled now. You've completed your prayers, taken your remedies, positioned yourself according to medical theory. First sleep should be coming any moment. But as you lie there, waiting, your mind starts to drift. Not into sleep, not yet. Into that liminal space between waking and sleeping, where the boundaries blur, where thoughts become strange, where you're not quite sure what's real. And that's when the dreams begin. Or rather, that's when you begin to remember that dreams matter, that dreams mean something, that what happens in sleep isn't random, isn't meaningless, but is actually a window into truth, into the future, into the hidden workings of the universe. Georgians are obsessed with dreams. They record them, analyze them, consult books about their meanings. Every symbol, every image, every bizarre scenario that plays out while you sleep, it all signifies something. Dreams are prophecy. They're warnings. They're messages from God, from angels, from the spirit world. Physicians write entire treatises about dreams. What causes them? Usually digestion, they decide. The state of your stomach, the balance of your humors, the food you ate before bed. Heavy meal, heavy dreams, spicy food, turbulent dreams, empty stomach, anxious dreams, lying on your back, nightmares, absolutely nightmares. The position compresses your chest, restricts breathing, sends signals to your brain that you're in danger. Your sleeping mind translates that into images of being crushed, chased, trapped, suffocated. But dreams aren't just physical phenomena. They're also spiritual. What you dream reveals the state of your soul, your hidden fears, your secret desires. Priests pay attention to their parishioners' dreams. Are you dreaming of devils? Perhaps you're being tempted. Dreaming of angels. You're in a state of grace. Dreaming of the dead. They might be trying to communicate with you, to warn you, to ask for prayers. Dream interpretation books are incredibly popular. Every lady's own fortune teller promises to reveal the hidden decrees of fate through dream analysis. You dream of water. That means trouble ahead. Fish. Financial gain. But only if you catch the fish. Flying. Freedom, but also danger if you fly too high. Falling. Loss of status. Failure. Death possibly. Animals in dreams have specific meanings. Horses represent travel or news. Dogs represent loyalty or betrayal, depending on whether they're friendly or aggressive. Cats are tricksters, untrustworthy. Snakes are temptation, evil, Satan himself. Birds vary by species. Doves are holy, ravens are ominous, owls mean death. If you dream of specific people, that matters too. Dreaming of someone who's died means they're restless, need prayers, or are trying to tell you something. Dreaming of someone you know who's still alive might mean that person is thinking of you, or that you'll see them soon, or that they're in danger and need help. Prophetic dreams are taken seriously. If you dream about a disaster, an accident, an illness, you tell people. You warn them. You take precautions. Because dreams can show the future, at least sometimes, at least if you know how to interpret them correctly. There are stories of people who dreamed their own deaths and then died exactly as they dreamed. People who dreamed of fires and woke to find their houses burning. People who dreamed of meeting strangers and then met those exact people the next day. Are these stories exaggerated? Probably. Are they fabricated? Maybe. But Georgians believe them absolutely. During the watch, that time when you wake in the middle of the night, one of your first tasks is to record your dreams from first sleep. You keep paper and pen by your bed for exactly this purpose. You light your candle, squint at the paper, and write down everything you remember before it fades. The symbols, the people, the emotions. You don't want to forget anything important, any detail that might reveal what your unconscious or the spirit world is trying to tell you. Then you consult your dream book if you have one. You look up the symbols, try to piece together the meaning. Sometimes it's reassuring, sometimes it's terrifying. Sometimes it makes no sense at all, but you write it down anyway, trusting that meaning will emerge eventually. Nightmares are a special category. They're not just bad dreams. They're attacks. Something is causing them, something external. The most common explanation is the night hag. This entity, this spirit, this demon, she sits on your chest while you sleep. She steals your breath, feeds on your fear, causes the most terrible visions. You dream of being crushed, paralyzed, unable to move or scream. You see her sometimes, a hideous crone, crouched on your chest, grinning. What we call sleep paralysis, Georgians call demonic visitation. The experience is terrifying. You're conscious but can't move. You sense a presence in the room. Your chest feels compressed. You try to scream and can't. You try to move and your body won't respond. Time stretches. Seconds feel like hours, and the presence gets closer, darker, more oppressive. Some people experience this once or twice in their lives. Others experience it regularly, night after night, until they're terrified to sleep. Remedies for nightmares involve everything you can think of. Prayer, obviously, protective symbols, sleeping on your side instead of your back, avoiding heavy food before bed, sleeping with a Bible under your pillow, reciting specific psalms. Some people wear amulets, small religious medals, or packets of herbs tucked into their night clothes. Some people sprinkle holy water around their beds. Some people refuse to sleep alone because the presence of another person seems to keep the night hag away. But sometimes nightmares aren't demonic. Sometimes they're just indigestion. You ate too much. You ate too late. You ate something that disagreed with you. Your stomach is roiling, sending distress signals to your brain, and your brain translates those signals into disturbing images. So if you want to avoid nightmares, watch what you eat for dinner. Light meals, easy to digest. Nothing spicy or rich or strange. Bread, maybe. Milk. Simple foods that won't cause disturbances in the night. The relationship between diet and dreams is taken very seriously. Physicians write extensive advice about dinner timing and content. You should eat at least 2 hours before bed, they say. Maybe 3. You need time for digestion to begin. Your stomach needs to settle. Eating right before sleep invites nightmares, bad dreams, poor rest. What you dream during second sleep is different from what you dream during first sleep. First sleep dreams are usually forgotten, buried deep in unconsciousness. Second sleep dreams are vivid, memorable, often bizarre. You're more likely to remember them, to wake from them, to carry them into your waking day. These are the dreams you analyze, interpret, worry about, and on good nights, you don't remember dreaming at all. You slip from first sleep through the watch into second sleep and wake at dawn feeling refreshed, restored, untroubled by visions or visitations. Those nights are blessings. You thank God for them. You hope they'll continue. But you know they probably won't. Because sleep in Georgian England is never simple, never easy, never just rest. It's a journey through darkness, through dreams, through spiritual territory that's dangerous and unpredictable and absolutely beyond your control. You're waking now, naturally, as the first pale light begins to filter through the cracks in your shutters. Second sleep is ending. The long night is finally over. You've survived. You open your eyes slowly, blinking against the dim light. Your bed curtains are still closed around you, creating a fabric cave that's warm, stuffy, smelling of sleep and bodies, and the chamber pot that definitely needs emptying. You lie still for a moment, taking inventory. Are you healthy? Does anything hurt? Did you survive the night intact, or did something happen while you slept? Your body feels stiff, sore from lying in one position too long. Your bladder is full. Your mouth is dry, but you're alive. That's worth acknowledging. Every morning that you wake up is a small miracle, a day death decided to pass you by. You push back the bed curtains, letting in the cool air of the bedchamber. It's freezing. Your breath makes clouds. The fire died during the night, reduced to cold ash and a few stubborn coals that might be coaxed back to life. But that's a task for later. First, you need to address more immediate needs. The chamber pot first. There's no avoiding it. You shuffle across the cold floor, feet protesting, and attend to necessities. The pot will need to be emptied by a servant, or by you if you don't have servants. It'll be carried downstairs, out to the privy or the cesspit, emptied, rinsed, and brought back for the next night. This is everyone's reality. Rich, poor, and everyone between. No plumbing means chamber pots, and chamber pots means someone has to deal with the contents. You splash water on your face from the basin, gasping at the cold. It wakes you up at least. Your skin tingles, your eyes clear. You dry off quickly, rubbing feeling back into your fingers. Morning prayers next. You kneel beside your bed, still in your nightclothes, and thank God for another day, for life, health, safety, for protecting you through the darkness, for allowing you to wake. These aren't empty words. You mean them. Night is dangerous. Morning is a gift. The prayers are shorter than evening prayers. You're anxious to get dressed, get warm, get moving. But you don't skip them. Never skip them. Starting the day without acknowledging God is asking for trouble. Now you dress, or a servant helps you dress if you're wealthy enough. The process reverses last night's undressing. Layers upon layers, stays laced tight, buttons fastened, clothes smoothed and arranged. You're transforming from your private, sleeping self to your public, working self. By the time you're fully dressed, you look nothing like the person who climbed into bed last night. If you have servants, they've already been up for hours. The kitchen fire is burning. Water is heating. Breakfast is being prepared. The house is coming back to life, shaking off the night stillness. If you don't have servants, all that work is yours. You rebuild the fire, wincing at how your hands are still cold, fingers clumsy. You put the kettle on. You find bread, cheese, whatever constitutes breakfast in your household. The rhythm of morning tasks is comforting after the stillness of night. You check on the household. If you have children, are they awake? Are they well? Did they sleep through the night without incident? If you have a spouse, you exchange morning greetings, discuss the day ahead. If you live alone, you simply move through your space, making sure everything is as it should be. Windows get unshuttered, letting in proper light finally. The darkness is banished. The morning has arrived. You survived another night in Georgian England. You got through the fears, the rituals, the dreams, the long hours of wakefulness. And tonight, you'll do it all again. Because this is life. This is what sleep means. This is what rest requires. Not just lying down and closing your eyes, but a complex series of protections and preparations, a spiritual and physical journey through darkness, an acceptance that sleep isn't simple or easy or guaranteed. Some nights are better than others. Some nights you sleep well, waking refreshed and ready. Some nights you barely sleep at all, lying awake for hours, getting up exhausted and defeated. And some nights fall somewhere in between. Adequate, acceptable, good enough to keep going. The quality of your sleep affects everything. Your mood, your health, your ability to work, to think, to interact with others. Bad sleep makes you irritable, makes your body ache, makes illness more likely. Good sleep is restorative, healing, the foundation of a functional life. And Georgians know this. They're obsessed with sleep because they have to be. Without it, everything falls apart. You're not the only one struggling with sleep, of course. Throughout Georgian England, in grand houses and tiny cottages, people are fighting the same battle. Some have it worse than you. Much worse. Take William Gladstone, for example. Future Prime Minister, brilliant politician, but also chronic insomniac. His letters and diaries are full of references to sleepless nights, to the agony of lying awake while the world sleeps. He tries everything. Different beds, different rooms, different routines. He consults physicians, follows their advice to the letter. Nothing works consistently. When his insomnia gets too severe, his doctors send him to the south of France. A change of scene, they say. Different air. Get away from work, from stress, from the demands of parliamentary life. Sometimes it helps. Usually it doesn't. He returns home still exhausted, still struggling. Samuel Johnson, the famous writer and lexicographer, also suffers terribly with sleep. His friends comment on it, worried about how drawn he looks, how exhausted. He drinks tea at all hours, works through the night when sleep won't come, writes by candlelight until dawn. His sleep troubles affect his mood, his famous depression, his physical health. He becomes dependent on opium eventually, taking it not for pleasure but for rest, for the desperate need to silence his racing mind and let his body recover. These aren't the only famous insomniacs. Letters, diaries, and medical records from the era are full of people struggling with sleep. Professionals especially. Politicians, clergy, lawyers, physicians. Anyone whose work involves mental strain, long hours, high stress. The Georgian professional world is brutal. You're expected to work constantly, to be always available, always performing. Gaslighting has made it possible to work into the night. The postal system means letters arrive at all hours, demanding immediate responses. Success requires sacrifice, and sleep is the first thing sacrificed. One physician writes about the dangers of overwork and sleeplessness. He calls it cerebral fatigue, brain exhaustion. When your occupation pursues you into your dreams, when you wake up still thinking about work, when you can't separate yourself from your professional duties, that's when you're in real danger. He recommends holidays, complete breaks from work. He warns that without proper rest, the mind and body will break down entirely. His advice is mostly ignored, because taking time off means falling behind, losing clients, missing opportunities. The culture of overwork is strong, stronger than the need for sleep, apparently. And it's not just professionals who suffer. Factory workers, labourers, anyone working long hours for minimal pay. They struggle with sleep for different reasons. Exhaustion, yes, but also poor sleeping conditions, inadequate nutrition, the constant stress of poverty. You try to sleep when you're hungry, cold, worried about where tomorrow's food will come from. Sleep becomes elusive, broken, unfulfilling. Some people turn to alcohol, drinking themselves into unconsciousness. Some turn to opiates, using the same medicines the wealthy use, but in cruder forms, more dangerous doses. Some just accept that proper sleep is a luxury they can't afford, that they'll spend their lives exhausted, running on empty, wearing their bodies down until they break. And break they do. The consequences of chronic sleep deprivation are visible everywhere. People age prematurely, their health deteriorates, their minds become confused, forgetful, sometimes unstable. Georgian physicians document all of this. They see the connection between sleeplessness and illness, between exhaustion and early death. They just don't know how to fix it. The remedies they offer, the advice they give, it's all so inadequate compared to the scale of the problem. The tragic cases are the ones where sleep remedies become the problem themselves. You start taking laudanum for insomnia. It works. You sleep beautifully. But then you need it every night. Then you need more of it. Then you can't sleep without it, can't function without it, can't imagine life without it. You've traded one problem for another, and the new problem might be worse. Dante Gabriel Rossetti, the artist, becomes so dependent on chloral that his friends fear for his life. He's taking massive doses, far more than any physician would recommend. He knows it's dangerous. He doesn't care. Without it, he can't sleep. Without sleep, he can't work. Without work, he can't live. So he keeps taking it, keeps increasing the dose, trapped in a cycle he can't escape. He's not alone. Opium addiction, alcohol dependence, they're widespread in Georgian England. People self-medicating, trying to find rest, trying to quiet their minds, trying to make it through one more night. The line between medicine and poison is thin, and many people cross it without meaning to. There are deaths, people who take too much, who miscalculate doses, who mix substances that shouldn't be mixed. One moment they're trying to sleep, the next they're not waking up. Families find them in the morning, cold in their beds, gone. The physician comes, examines the body, makes a report. Accidental poisoning, misadventure, death by sleep remedy. It's more common than you'd think, and it's mostly hidden, hushed up, not discussed in polite society. But everyone knows. Everyone has heard of someone who died this way. It's a risk you take when you're desperate for sleep, a calculated risk. You hope you get the dose right. You hope tonight isn't the night you go too far. You've been lied to about Georgian England. Not deliberately maybe, but the version you've seen in period dramas, in novels, in paintings, it's sanitized, romanticized, prettied up for consumption. The reality of sleep in this era is grittier, grimier, more uncomfortable than you've been led to believe. First, the beds. Those beautiful four-poster beds with the gorgeous curtains. They're not comfortable. The mattress is lumpy. The ropes sag. The straw pokes through the fabric. You're constantly adjusting, trying to find a position that doesn't hurt. And the curtains, while they trap heat, they also trap moisture, smells, stuffiness. By morning, you're breathing recycled air that's thick with your own exhalations. Not pleasant. The sheets, if you have them, aren't changed often. Laundry is hard work. Water has to be heated. Clothes have to be scrubbed by hand. Everything has to be dried. So you sleep on the same sheets for weeks, sometimes months. They get dirty, sweaty, stained. You get used to it. You have to. The blankets are heavy, scratchy wool. They shed. They smell like sheep. They make you itch. But they're also warm, essential for survival in unheated bedchambers where winter temperatures drop below freezing. You pile them on, layer after layer, until you can barely move. The alternative is freezing to death. Not a metaphor. People actually freeze to death in their beds when they can't afford enough blankets or fuel for heating. Bugs are everywhere. Fleas, bedbugs, lice. You can't escape them. The wealthy have fewer, perhaps, because they can afford to replace bedding more often, to treat their mattresses. But even they're not immune. You wake up covered in bites. You itch constantly. You get used to the feeling of something crawling on your skin in the dark. What choice do you have? The chamber pot situation is exactly as unpleasant as it sounds. There's no getting around it. You're doing your business into a pot that's maybe 3 feet from where you sleep. The smell is immediate, pervasive. You try to cover it, to minimize it, but it's always there. By morning, the bedchamber smells like a privy. You just accept this. Everyone's bedchamber smells like this. It's normal. The cold is brutal. People in modern times can't really imagine how cold houses were before central heating. Your bedchamber in winter is so cold that water freezes in the basin. Your breath forms ice crystals on the inside of your bed curtains. You can see your breath even under all your blankets. Your nose is freezing. Your ears are freezing. The only parts of you that are warm are the parts deep under the covers. And if you move, if you shift position, cold air rushes in, and you lose all that carefully hoarded warmth. You learn to stay perfectly still, to curl into a ball, to breathe shallowly, so you don't disturb the warm air around your face. The noise at night is worse than you'd expect. Old houses creak, timbers settle, wind howls through gaps, animals scurry in the walls, under the floors, in the thatched roofs. Mice, rats, sometimes larger things. You hear them all night, scratching, gnawing, running. You try to ignore it. Usually it's just animals, usually. If you live in a city, there are human sounds too. People walking past your house, drunks singing, fights breaking out, dogs barking, church bells marking the hours, loud and insistent, ensuring you're aware of time passing even when you desperately want to forget. The darkness is more complete than modern people experience. No street lights, no night lights, no ambient glow from electronics or neighboring houses. When you blow out your candle, you're in absolute blackness. You can't see your hand in front of your face, can't see the walls, the door, anything. You're completely blind, disoriented. If you need to get up in the night, you have to feel your way, hands extended, shuffling carefully, hoping you don't trip over furniture or step on something sharp. And the fear, the genuine fear that Georgians feel at night, it's not exaggerated for dramatic effect. It's real. Night is when bad things happen. Crime, fire, illness getting worse, death. You're more vulnerable at night, less able to defend yourself, to seek help, to escape danger. So yes, you're afraid. Everyone's afraid. You just don't talk about it much, because what good would that do? The transition from Georgian sleep patterns to modern ones wasn't instant or easy. It took over a century, and we lost something in the process. Something that maybe we're only now starting to realize we need. When gaslighting became common in the early 1800s, people could suddenly extend their evenings. They could work longer, socialize later, stay up past what the natural darkness would have dictated. It seemed like progress. More productivity, more social life, more entertainment. But it disrupted the natural sleep rhythm. Biphasic sleep depends on going to bed early, sleeping 4 hours, waking naturally. If you're staying up until midnight at a gaslit party, that pattern breaks. You go to bed late, try to sleep straight through, wake up exhausted because your body's confused. The Industrial Revolution made things worse. Factory work required schedules, shifts, consistency. You couldn't wake in the middle of the night for a few hours when you had to be at work at 6 in the morning. You needed continuous sleep, or tried to get it. Your body resisted. Your natural rhythms fought against the imposed schedule. But economics won. You needed the job more than you needed proper sleep. Electricity was the final nail in the coffin. Once houses could be lit at the flip of a switch. Once streetlights made night bright as day. Once entertainment was available around the clock. The darkness lost its power. Night stopped being a separate time, a different state. It became just more hours to fill with activity. The 8-hour sleep recommendation emerged, based not on biology, but on industrial scheduling. 8 hours work, 8 hours leisure, 8 hours sleep. Neat, tidy, completely artificial. Modern sleep research is now rediscovering what Georgians knew instinctively. Biphasic sleep isn't a disorder, it's natural. When people are removed from artificial light, from alarm clocks, from schedules, what happens? They fall into segmented sleep. First sleep, wake period, second sleep, exactly like Georgians. Our bodies want to sleep this way. We're just forcing them not to. The modern epidemic of middle-of-the-night insomnia, the people who wake at 2 or 3 in the morning and lie there anxiously, waiting to fall back asleep, they might not have a problem. They might be experiencing a powerful echo of the old pattern. If they just accepted the waking, got up, did something quiet for an hour, then returned to bed, they might sleep better. But modern culture tells them they're supposed to sleep straight through. So they lie there, stressed, making everything worse. Some Georgian sleep practices have survived. We still drink herbal teas before bed. We still read to relax. We still say prayers or meditate or have bedtime routines. But we've lost the communal aspect, the acceptance that sleep is flexible, the understanding that night waking isn't a problem to fix, but a rhythm to follow. We've gained a lot, obviously. Warm houses, clean beds, modern medicine, actual effective treatments for sleep disorders. No one's suggesting we return to chamber pots and pigeons on the head. But maybe we could learn something from Georgian sleep culture. The respect they had for rest, the elaborate care they took preparing for sleep, the acceptance that sleep isn't simple, isn't easy, isn't something to be rushed through or minimized. The knowledge that good sleep is essential, worth investing time in, worth treating as sacred. Modern life is exhausting in ways Georgians couldn't imagine. But Georgian life was exhausting too, just differently. And they understood something we've forgotten. Sleep isn't just closing your eyes for 8 hours. It's a journey, a process, a practice that requires attention and care. And so, as dawn has broken fully now, as the sun climbs higher and the day begins in earnest, this is where our journey through Georgian sleep comes to rest. You've travelled through the fears, the rituals, the remedies, the dreams. You've experienced what it was like to prepare for bed in an era when darkness meant danger and sleep meant vulnerability. You've learned that our ancestors' relationship with rest was complex, challenging, and deeply different from our own. Perhaps you've recognized something in their struggles, the anxiety about sleep, the desperate quest for rest, the knowledge that without it, everything becomes harder. These aren't uniquely Georgian problems. These are human problems, stretching across centuries. We still struggle with sleep, still seek remedies, still lie awake at night worrying about tomorrow. The tools have changed, but the challenges remain. And maybe that's comforting in a way, knowing that 300 years ago, people were tying bread to their feet and praying for peaceful sleep, knowing that you're part of a long tradition of humans trying, failing, trying again to master the art of rest. If you've made it this far through this journey, you're probably ready for some sleep yourself. And that's fine. That's good. That's the whole point of this long, winding story through Georgian night. So if you enjoyed this exploration, if you found something interesting or useful, or just pleasantly soporific, like the video, before you drift off. Subscribe if you want more journeys into history's hidden corners. And if you're already asleep, well, then this worked exactly as intended. Sweet dreams. May your sleep be deep and your morning peaceful. And may you never need to apply a pigeon to your head.